Have you ever wondered if the universe is playing some kind of secret song? I mean, are the fundamental constants of nature, the masses of the particles that make up literally everything, are they just random numbers? Or could they follow a hidden mathematical score? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating theory that suggests there's a deep harmonic order woven into the very fabric of reality. So let's just get right to the big question we're tackling in this explainer. Could it be that the seemingly chaotic values of particle masses are actually organized, kind of like notes on a musical scale?
Okay, let's jump in. If you're going to look for a universal scale, the first thing you need is a universal tuning fork, some fundamental number to base everything on. And lucky for us, in physics, there's a very famous number that's just a perfect candidate.
And that number is the fine structure constant, alpha. Or to be specific, its reciprocal, which is about 137. This number is huge. It governs the strength of the electromagnetic force, one of the four fundamental forces. Because it's so, well, fundamental, it seems like the absolute perfect place to start looking for a universal key. And you know what? At first, this approach looked incredibly promising. I mean, just look at this slide. When you plot particle masses on this scale, some major players land almost perfectly on these whole number steps. The electron is sitting right there at step 9. The muon is at 10. The epsilon and C particles are both crowding around step 11. It really felt like the code was being cracked.
But there's always a but, isn't there? For all of these beautiful, neat alignments, a pretty major problem started to show up. A critical flaw that hinted this simple scale maybe wasn't the whole story. It just became obvious that something was, well, off, fundamentally missing. The model was great for some particles, but for others, and we're talking about some of the most important ones, it just didn't work. They were out of tune, creating this jarring dissonance in what was supposed to be a universal harmony. And this right here perfectly illustrates the problem. While the electron sits beautifully on step 9 of the scale, the proton, the heart of every single atom's nucleus, it lands awkwardly at step 10.5. It's a half step. It's out of tune. This wasn't some tiny rounding error. It was a fundamental issue that meant the theory as it stood was broken. So this is the crucial point, because this proton anomaly forced a complete reevaluation of everything. It actually led to a breakthrough that would totally change the perspective on how the universe might be put together. The big question became, what if the problem wasn't the particles, but the scale itself? What if 137 wasn't the fundamental note, but was actually more like an octave? What if the universe takes smaller, more subtle steps? Kind of like the chromatic half steps you find on a piano keyboard. And after a lot of analysis, a new optimal base number was found. A number that really seems to be the key that unlocks this entire puzzle, 11.65. And here's the really elegant part. This new number, 11.65, it's not just random. It's almost exactly the square root of the old base number, 137. The implication here is pretty profound. The universe isn't built on alpha, it's built on the square root of alpha. It uses a much finer chromatic scale. And this new scale, it changes everything. Just look at this. The electron now lands perfectly on step 18. And the proton, the particle that broke the last model, it snaps right onto step 21. The upsilon is on step 22. And get this, even the Higgs boson, the particle that gives everything else mass, finds its perfect spot on step 23. The dissonance is gone. It's just a perfect harmonic alignment. But the theory doesn't stop with just subatomic particles. And this is where it gets really compelling, because this harmonic scale seems to stretch beyond the quantum world and right into the very foundation of biology. Get this. It turns out that a key vibrational mode of the water molecule, not its stretch, but the frequency of its angular HOH, bend, also aligns perfectly with this new chromatic scale. This discovery creates this absolutely stunning sequence. You've got the water molecules bend at step 12, the electron at 18, the proton at 21, and the Higgs at 23. Do you see it? It's a clear harmonic progression, a ladder, from the simple to the complex, from the cradle of life itself all the way to the source of mass. Okay, so if this harmonic scale is real, it has some absolutely profound implications for how we see the cosmos. It suggests that maybe the universe isn't the result of a single explosive event, but something more like a continuous mechanical process that's governed by these harmonic rules. And that leads to this radical new metaphor.
the universe as a gyroscopic camera. In this model, the Big Bang isn't a one-time event in the distant past. It's a continuous scanning engine that's generating reality frame by frame right now. And that harmonic scale we've been talking about, that's the underlying code that tells it how to render each frame. So what does that actually mean for the nature of reality itself? I mean, if the universe is a camera, it must have a shutter speed, right? It has to have a frame rate. And this is the concept of the universal shutter. The theory proposes that reality isn't this smooth, continuous flow. It actually blinks at an almost unimaginable frequency, something like 1.6 times 10 to the 35th power times per second. Each one of those blinks is a single frame of existence.
So what is matter in this kind of model? It's not a tiny, solid thing. It's more of an emergent pattern. So imagine a vertical wave. That's the pulse of the universal shutter. Now imagine a horizontal movement. Where these two things cross and interfere with each other, they create stable nodes, kind of like the peaks you see when two ripples cross in a pond. And according to this theory, those nodes are what we perceive as particles, as matter.
This all leaves us with a final, pretty profound question to think about. If the universe is being rendered frame by frame according to a very specific harmonic scale, what would happen if the music changed? What if that universal frame rate were to slow down or speed up? Would the laws of physics as we know them even still hold? It's a question that really challenges our most basic assumptions about what existence even is.